Carreras is someone who I know an awful lot of football watchers of a Reds variety were very, very into, but it looks like Real have got their greasy paws on him.
Yeah, we wanted him, didn't we? Said all summer he would be our dream left back, and he is Spanish, so where do most Spanish players want to end up? At one of their big two. So yeah, it's all just a case of, can Real Madrid agree a deal with Benfica that satisfies both parties? Benfica are a selling club. Real Madrid want him. Carreras wants to go there. So it's never guaranteed, but it does feel like this one will get done.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It seems like it seems right. Something about that move just seems right. Barca, you mentioned earlier on, and they have some players there on their books that they need to get sorted contract-wise. De Jong is one, Yamal is one, Inacio is another, and Rafinha is another. There's only so much cash that comes in for winning the league. And we know that some people think they're going to spend up to 70 million of it on Luis Diaz, if you believe that story. So what do you reckon are their priorities there around the contract situation?
The De Jong one fascinates me because he's only got a year left on his deal. But we've mentioned this like historically in the transfer show and checked it again to get it verified. They still owe him about 6 months' wages, Trev. Remember, Barca had their major problems and they still owe this guy about 6 months' wages. What worries me is, I don't know why players do this, but how many players have Barca got to just write off wages? Do you remember they got like PK playing for like £10 an hour or something like that? Players just do this for Barcelona. It's utterly bizarre, but it wouldn't surprise you if it's a happy camp and he just writes off millions of quid. But there you go. As you said, Yamal, Barca's biggest worry is Yamal turns 18. So now they've actually got to offer him an adult wage instead of like Kit Kats and Kinder Buenos to play for type of thing. So that comes into the mix. Rafinha wants a new deal as well. So yeah, it is the one that we've just mentioned here, because for all the talk over Luis Diaz and 70 million quid, how about the backdated arrears on wages to pay and sort? So, yeah, this will be one to keep an eye on as well.
Yeah, and they're going to obviously make moves and pull levers. So, yeah, you're right. It'll be one to watch. Let's talk about two more players before we finish with a chat about some managerial moves. First of all is Cherki, who is another sort of Javi Simmons, seems to really divide opinion. Some people are massively high on this kid, others not so much. And then Vlahovic as well, who is kind of constantly in every transfer window news every time that we do a show. Let's talk about him before we'll get to the managers. But first of all, Cherki, then Vlahovic.
Yeah, players with a year left to go who divide a lot of people, don't we? That it's known. Leon have confirmed it. The players confirmed it. Cherki's moving on. It's all about who is prepared to stump up the fee. And again, we said this before, but for about 18.5 million in elite football terms, that is not big money. There'll be a lot of clubs that will look at that as an educated punt, shall we say, and think he's a bit lazy in all this, but he's got creative elements, so we'll take the gamble on that. So I do think he will get a move. It wouldn't surprise you if it's to the Premier League as well, but Dortmund again being mentioned. And the other one, I mean, Dusan Vlahovic, what if you went back a couple of years, he was heralded as potentially the next big striking star, wasn't he? He was going to be like the big, the next £100 million striker, if you want to call it that. But it's really gone tits up at Juventus, hasn't it? And they're quite happy to part ways with a year left to go on his deal. So Arsenal have been linked. There's a few others. The only other one to mention with Vlahovic, our good old friends, the Saudis, are apparently sniffing around him. So he's not old, but he's not young particularly at the same time. It will be interesting to see. And someone commented it. He is on a massive wage at Juventus, so someone's got to be prepared to take that on at the same time. It sniffs of Saudi money, doesn't it?
Really does, because if he's gotten used to that and that is his priority, and honestly, I would never blame a man for wanting to stay on the same money and not go down. then, there are very few options available to the kid. Let's finish then the show with some managerial potential moves, including the much beloved Ten Hag.
Yeah, Eric Ten Hag. I mean, he is apparently still, as it says on the screen there, on Bayer Leverkusen's list, but Leverkusen want Cesc Fabregas. The problem is, Cesc is on such a sweet deal at Como. Beautiful part of the world, total control, ambitious owners who want to do things. It's like he's almost just allowed to do it how he wants. So you're not going to give that up too easily. What's also funny as well is it could come full circle that having been sacked by United, Ajax have got rid of their manager after they bottled the league, didn't they, on the last day after a massive points advantage they gave up. So who's one of the favourites now with the bookies to go back there? Eric Ten Hag. So imagine that. He just spends 3 years, gets a massive payoff from Manchester United and just goes back to his old job. But there's a lot going on with managers. I mean, it was still funny. People that had that whole Jurgen Klopp's going to manage Roma. Jurgen Klopp said for a year he's not going to do anything in terms of management. He probably won't go back again. But there's a lot going on in the managerial scene. It will be interesting. And I see someone put Farioli, or however it's pronounced, quit. It was this a mutual agreement, wasn't it? After you blow the league with 10 points left to go, of course you're going to leave Ajax. So, yeah, we will see what happens with this.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes these manager stories are every bit as entertaining. And I did see some stuff with Fabregas interviews, a couple of different interviews recently. Just listen to him talk about the game. He does have that. He's a real football man, and he has very strong, pronounced ideas. You can see how he could end up being one of the few footballer to manager transitions that ends up being really excellent. If those early signs are anything to go by. That's pretty much us, Dave, unless you've got a last-minute addition or something that's come in during the show or something that occurred to you that you want to drop just before we get out of here.
No, it's just, I suppose we said last week, and I got it wrong, we'll probably do another one. Maybe there won't be too much to talk about. Not much has happened between Friday and Tuesday. Everything's just a little bit crazy. And obviously, this week, there's the end of the season. So it'll only be 5 days after the end of the season till transfer window 1 opens again. We're 12 days away from the transfer window opening. We're awaiting news on Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz. We're waiting to see what happens as well, aren't we? There's already things happening with us before the window has even opened, departure-wise as well, with the likes of Elliott, Diaz, Nunes. One thing between now and the end of transfer window 1, it ain't going to be quiet. There's going to be plenty going on.
And honestly, folks, that's how we like it on this show. It's all just about the stories. And that ultimately is the purpose of this show. They're good, they're bad, they're worrying, they're exciting. We're giddy, we're anxious. That's what the show is. And we just tell you what it is that Dave's found from his sources. So we look forward to doing it again soon. Like Dave says, probably won't even be a week the way things are going. We'll be back with you when there's enough for a show. So for now, take care.